YouTube channel here
Okay.
because it's important. I think what we're going to talk about today is going to be very exciting for a lot of people. But let me just well, I guess there's no way of getting maybe if I did it from this side.
How many people do we have in the waiting room?
We got 4 people right now.
Only 4?
Well, they're gonna miss out if you're not here. You miss out. You miss out on the goods because I'm bringing the goods right now. So I got my family here on YouTube. My YouTube family here. We got people in 610, and if you're just tuning in, because I already see people on my YouTube channel live. If you are tuning in, you're gonna want to stay to the end because by the end of this presentation, everyone here, including my good friends here at 610, are gonna learn how to make millions in the next 10 months. So let's hit it, Christian. Let's go.
Recording in progress.
All right. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm just gonna, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna get right into it because I don't want to go too long, and I want to wait for the questions at the end. I see a lot of people already in the house. 610 in the house. What's going on? Yeah, yeah. Exciting times right now. We're living through one of the greatest times in history. So if you are thinking that you're just going to do this Netflix style and just relax and be entertained, no. You need to get paper, a pen, because you're going to want to take notes because, and this is what I was saying before you guys came on. I'm also going live on my YouTube channel. I can already see some people logged in. But this conversation here, you are going to remember for a very long time because we are living through the biggest wealth transfer in the history of time. And it's a very, very, very small window. So everyone here is going to want to participate and get involved. So we talked about these rate increases, and if you guys have been on my YouTube channel, you guys, some of you guys I don't think I recognize here, but I invite you to come to my YouTube channel because I've talked about this in length, and so this idea of interest rates going up, I need you to write these 2 dates down: July 13th and September 7th. July 13th was the day that we in our community claimed as the official beginning of hunting season. And then September 7th, this is when the sellers really started to adjust to what's really happening in the market. And so, of course, the government of Canada, their responsibility is to stabilize the economy. We can't expect to go on a 2-year holiday and not to have consequences. All right, and so that's exactly what happened. Interest rates, and if you can see where interest rates were before 2019, and then as a result of COVID-19, the interest rates dropped historically. They have never been this low in history, and they stayed there. They were frozen in time for 2 years. And so when we talked about, and this is a big part of why this call here is going to be so historical to you guys, because back here, okay, back here. And I'll show you I'll refer to the YouTube video, and this is why I want to make sure that everything I do is on YouTube, and we can timestamp it, okay? Because if you go back to April, and if we're talking about, April of 2020, right? And before that time, if you were investing, you knew there was a correction coming, okay? And so. And when I get to the PowerPoint, I'm going to be talking about how, what to do in these market cycles, and we're going to talk a lot about these market cycles. But ultimately, this COVID-19, which no one could have predicted, came at a time where we really should have been going into a decline in the market. But instead, what the government did, and usually when you have a decline, when you have a decline, there's an adjustment, and obviously they wait till it goes towards a recovery, and then interest rates start to come back down again, and then all of a sudden the market just picks up, right? These are market cycles. But back in 2020, what they did was they reduced the interest rates so low, mixed in with the overall scarcity of where we were back in 2020. And so I remember waking up April 2nd, okay? Because March of 2020, I was just like you guys. I mean, I was scared, right? I didn't know what was going to happen. People were talking about, potentially people may not pay their rent. We have 600 doors across Canada. What happens if nobody pays? And so we were very active, and we communicated with people, and we got people to pay their rent. We showed them to all the different services, and ultimately April 1st came, and we were 98% collected. And at this point, we were just like, we just took a deep breath, because this was a lot of work, a lot of communication, emails. Every time you turned on the television, you saw Trudeau, and he was there, and he was just telling people, hey guys, everything's going to be all right. And as a leader, that's all you have to do. You have to communicate with your family, your employees, your investors, your lenders, your tenants. And basically, you're doing consistent communication, and you're telling people, hey guys, everything is going to be all right. And so when we woke up April 2nd, what hit me like a ton of bricks is that everyone is scared. Everyone is in this same position. And so we ended up taking the most action we have ever taken in the history of our company. We bought millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of real estate that all doubled in price. All right? And so it all came because it was a mixture of low rates and scarcity in the market, which is now we have higher rates, but you have even more scarcity because people tend to think that the sky is falling. And so when you look at inflation, so what did this create? What did this create? This created liquidity in the markets. When there's scarcity, and it only took up to, maybe up to August until people said, oh, there's money. And everyone started to spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money, spend money. Not everyone has the investor mindset, like the people in this room or the people that are watching me. Oh, there's a lot of people watching me on YouTube. So not everyone has this investor mindset, like the people watching this right now. Some people bought pools. Some people bought cars. We're talking about from the values of their properties. They're like, oh my God, my property doubled in price. They refied that property, and they're like, you know what? Let's go on a vacation. What just happened here? Let's go on a vacation, right? Let's buy stuff. Let's buy stuff. Now, for a lot of you, and especially the ones that are on my YouTube channel, at this point here, I basically was begging people. I'm like, guys, you got to get out there now. This is a window of opportunity. It's going to last probably around 6 to 7 months, okay? And that's what I'm here to talk about today, because we have a window of opportunity that it's going to be about 10 to 12 months. In the next 10 to 12 months, you're going to see the biggest transfer of wealth in history. in these next 10 to 12 months, because what this created, okay, is a liquidity in the market. People started spending, and inflation ran rampant, right? So if you see how for the past we have been stabilizing inflation. Inflation has been on average 3%, the inflation rate. Just recently, the Bank of Canada said that we are just over 8%. Okay, so I call BS. BS. Okay, I'm not gonna say the word, but I call that BS. Okay, I'm thinking the inflation rate is more like 16%. And so, what's my formula? Whatever the government says, I double it. Whatever the government says, the reality is probably double. I think we're around 16%. Meaning, if you have money sitting around in your bank account, you are losing 16% per year because the value of your money is going down. What they did here is unheard of, right? They printed more money than they ever did in history. Okay, it's called quantitative easing. It's a fancy word that means they printed a lot of money. Okay, one of my favorite shows was The Last Dance. Have you guys who's seen just show of hands, who saw The Last Dance? I was addicted. Like Michael Jordan, that's my era. I grew up with Michael Jordan. I watched The Last Dance, and then I remembered. I'm like, oh my God, I have a Michael Jordan rookie card. I have a Michael Jordan rookie card, a baseball rookie card. So I went through into my storage and I went through everything because I remember watching I was so inspired by The Last Dance, but then I remembered I have that Michael Jordan rookie card. It must be worth a fortune. And I looked, and I found it. I found this Michael Jordan rookie card. It's a baseball rookie card. And I was like, this has to be worth millions, right? I mean, like, this is when I was, when I was like 11, 12 years old, I got this, right? And then I was so excited. And it actually, I had it, like I was smart, when I was 12, I was smart. I put it in this case, so to preserve the value. You see, I was always an investor, even at 12 years old. But this card, when I looked it up online, how much it was worth, it was worth $25. $25. Now I still love this card, but this was the card that Upper Deck, back in whatever 1990, I guess it was 1990. Back in 1990, this was the card that Upper Deck printed the most. Millions and millions and millions of copies of this card was printed, which devalues the value of this card. If there was only 10 printed, this card would be worth over $1 million. So the more something is available, the less is worth. And that's what happened with money. This is why money, like cash is trash. Because like the second they start printing money, the inflation goes crazy. And so now, we could get to a point where we bust, and there's a lot of there's going to be a mix of history here in this presentation, and you guys should write down a few dates. The first year I want you to write down is 1944. 1944. And if you want to be wealthy, if you want to create wealth in your life, you really should study the history of money. 1944 was the year that the monetary system was reset. So in history, this is not the monetary system that we're applying right now, that we've all subscribed to. That is a very new monetary system that was only applied back in 1944, where the governments of the world got together shortly after the Second World War, and they all came to the conclusion that we're going to all subscribe to this one monetary system. We're going to name the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world, and the U.S. dollar is going to be the central bank, would be the bank that controls everything in the world, and everything would be backed by gold. So all of the countries of the world had to they would bring their gold to the U.S. and to the Federal Reserve, and what they would do is they would give you this currency, and it's just like a bank account, right? When you go to the bank, they give you a little plastic card, and they say, "Don't worry, we got you. When you're ready to come in and take your money, we got you." And so 1971, this is another date, okay? 1971, during and towards the end of the Vietnam War, where the U.S. Got beat up in that war, and there was the world lost confidence in what, in the U.S., and they started to want their gold back. And by the way, at one point in history, and you guys can Google this, it was illegal for people to own gold. But in 1971, because people were pulling their gold away, President Nixon removed the gold standard from the U.S. dollar, meaning that the U.S. dollar was no longer going to be supported by gold, and at that point it became fiat currency, just pieces of paper, okay? And so ever since that time, we've been dealing with inflation, because it ultimately, at the end of the day, is just a piece of paper, and the value is determined by the perception and how people feel. And so if you're printing a ton of money, it becomes worthless, okay? And so the money is to be invested and secured against hard assets. Now, a lot of people did that, right? If you listened to me back in April of 2020 and you bought assets, you have hedged against inflation. People think that real estate is went up in value, but really what happened is inflation ran rampant. Now the job of the government now is to pull a lever. So they pull the interest rate lever, hoping that inflation is going to come down. Now, I do have some proof. So this video here, and you guys can go see, it's time stamped early April of 2020. I was telling people, guys, you gotta get into the market, and if you don't get in, you could miss this window of opportunity, because it was a very, very small window. Now, at that point in time, and I want to make sure it's clear here, I didn't have a crystal ball, and I'm just simply making an educated prediction based on my experience in the past. Since I started business, I've been in business for 27 years. And when I started business, there was a tail end of a recession. And I've been through that recession. I've been through the correction of 2001. I went through 2008. And every time I got smarter and smarter and smarter, knowing what to do during times of correction. And that's what I'm excited to talk to you guys about today, because we are moving into the situation where we are now entering hunting season. And the behaviors of the past, you got to leave them in the past. What you have done in the past is not going to serve you moving forward. In fact, it might even hurt you. The same habits that you've built, it might hurt you moving forward, because we are in a very different market. We are no longer in a seller's market. We are entering a buyer's market. And when we enter a buyer's market, we have to change our behavior. We have to change the way we look at things. We have to change the way we transact. But if you follow what I'm telling you, and like a lot of you have, even within Wealth Genius, I mean, we created hundreds of millionaires just by simple education and guidance during a time where people just simply don't have the luxury to not know what they're doing, because this window of opportunity is only for about 10 to 12 months. And so the time is now. The time is of essence. And the reason I say that is because we are in a point where the media is kind of helping us in a way where they're saying, hey guys, real estate is going down. Real estate, the prices are going down. People can't afford housing. But the truth is, we are still in a housing crisis. If we doubled the production of units in Canada every single day for the next 20 years, we would still be behind. There is no way right now that we could ever catch up with the amount of units that are needed. But when you watch the news, they're going to tell you something different. This is why the opportunity is in the next 10 months, because what the government is hoping to do is push us into a recession so inflation comes down and we can stabilize. Once we go into a recession, and we are in a recession now, but once we are officially in a full-blown recession, you're going to see that behaviors are going to change. People will spend less, right? They'll go to less restaurants, they'll buy less clothes, they'll take less vacations. All of the things that people are enjoying now, the fruits of the refinances that they did on their house. For the past 2 years, everyone has been living really good. Hashtag living your best life, right? People have refied their house, took the year off work. Life is good. But now it's time to pay the piper for the people that didn't invest, right? For the ones that invested, all we got to do is hold on to our real estate. Now it's the time to buy even more. The people that didn't invest, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to see what happens after COVID. Now those people they've spent all the refi money, now those people now have to go out and get jobs. And people tend to hold back, which will create a recession, because everything is connected. That's an economy. And you'll see that once we hit a recession and inflation starts to come down, you'll start to see interest rates will come down as well. Now, when you're in a recession, that's going to hit the money markets, the stock market, the bitcoins, the gold, and people are going to run back to tested and true real estate. Okay, and so this opportunity is for the next 10 months. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can tell you is I'm speaking from experience. 27 years of experience. I'm here to share that with you guys today. Okay, so hunting season is officially back, and we declared that back in July 13th. We were very excited. In fact, you can go back and watch that on my YouTube channel. July 13th, I described everything that is happening now. I actually described exactly what was going to happen back in July 13th. September 7th was another nice little treat. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen, and they're going to continue to increase rates. These rates are going to continue to increase. People are going to get more and more desperate, because what's happening now, there's still a lag. The seller's mind is still back in April of this year. And so we just need for time to do its thing. And as time is doing its thing, they will become more reasonable. Now, for those of you that are really active in multifamily, as you know, don't expect for prices to come down like crazy. That's just not going to happen. Housing market may take a hit, but I want you guys to focus more on the flexibility of what's going to happen in the next 10 months. In the next 10 to 12 months, you're going to have a mixture of inventory and people that are going through the 4Ds: death, disaster, disease, or divorce, right? Those are the 4Ds. Those people still have to liquidate their assets. And mixture of the baby boomers, the old folks, right? People that are now in their 80s and they're either exiting the market, by force, or they simply just don't want to deal with real estate anymore. And you can be in that position, just like I was back in 2009. Back in 2009, no one wanted to know about real estate. 2007, everybody and their grandmother was talking about real estate. A house would go on the market, you would have like 45 offers. Everyone and their grandmother was buying real estate until the market in the US crashed. We used to go to these networking events. Before 2008, they were jam-packed, standing room only. This was before social media. And then we would go back. We went back in 2009, empty rooms. It was just us multifamily people, right? And so that's going to happen again. So it will take time for sellers to adjust. This you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of when you're talking to a seller, or you're talking to an agent that has a seller. You need to think to yourself, they still might be in la la land, right? They still might be thinking that their property is worth more than it really is worth today. So you need time. Guys, there's no more rushing. Now it's time to walk, right? Take control. Take control of those deals again. Don't be, like 6 months ago, we were going in and you would call the agent and he would say, hey, there's multiple offers and you got to put in your offer right now. Hey, slow down, right? Take your time. This is a time to walk and make really good decisions. This is why we have coaches. This is why we have these coaching programs and mentorship programs, is so you guys can get guided. You guys can have that guidance moving forward. So take your time. The people that don't have to sell, and a lot of people already have noticed this, that back in 2021, towards the end of 2021, early 2022, we were creating a liquidity event, meaning we were able to sell parts of our portfolio for prices that we never thought we would get. It was like, not ridiculous, it was redonkulous, right? It was really redonkulous. And we sold property for prices that we never ever thought that we would ever get. As of July 13th, we were officially out of the selling business. So there was two last apartment buildings that we were thinking about disposing of. After July 13th, I pulled those off the market. And I'm going to say that a lot of people are going to feel the same way. If you don't have to sell, you're not selling in this market. What does that mean? It means that the properties that are left are the people that actually need to sell. You see, before July 13th, you didn't know. You have to go in there, do a proper discovery. You didn't know if there was motivation there. But now moving forward, the time is right. The time is now. This is where you have to take the most action, and you're going to reap the rewards later on, because right now everybody's going to go and hide in the little cubby holes, and this is where real true investors come out. So that's on the seller's side, and the inventory will increase. And what you need to think about and focus on is the DOM, days on market. Okay, once you start to see that, the more you see the days, 30, 60, 90, 120 days, you know that at some point there's going to be a price adjustment. At the very beginning, they're still in la la land, but as the time goes on, you will be in a better position to negotiate. Okay, now what I see happening, after these next 10 months is that we'll go back into more of a stable market again. Very similar to what we were experiencing back in 2018, 2019. More of a stable market. Sellers becoming flexible again, which, you know, this is key, right? Especially if you're in the multifamily game. If you're selling singles, if you're in the flipping game, wholesaling, which, you know, we've had multiple different sessions on this, and I know I've talked about how, you know, I feel that some of these strategies are very market specific. There's a reason why I love multifamily. I love multifamily, and it doesn't have to be your reason, but there's a reason I love it. It's more of a lifestyle thing for me. You do the job once, and you get paid for life. You do the job once, and your family will get paid for life, right? Because you're going to keep those assets in your family for generations to come. And you did the job once. The key is to buy good and buy it at a reasonable price that makes sense. Back last year, people were buying real estate for things that were not at prices that were not reasonable. Now we're back to reason, right? And that's what really gets me excited. And so what's going to happen, especially in the multifamily game, is that people will start to become very flexible, meaning they will start to work with you. If the property's sitting on the market 120 days and they have to sell, this is when the seller financing comes into play. This is where the agreements for sale come into play. This is where the assumptions come into play, mixed with seller financing. If you have a true buyer and you have a true seller, there's no reason why you can't make a deal happen, right? And so when we go into this market, it's a beautiful market for assumptions. And I need you guys to write that down. Assuming a mortgage right now is going to be the go-to strategy for the next 10 months. What does this mean? If you got a mortgage, if you got a mortgage over here, okay, and I just saw this today even, you know, I was looking at we're negotiating on an apartment building. The seller has a mortgage at 1.74%, 40-year AM. 1.74%, okay? 1.74%. Now, the key is, number one, what are the terms of this mortgage? Because when you assume a mortgage, you are assuming the terms, the interest rate, right? So this particular seller, somewhere between 2020 and 2021, they locked in for 10 years, okay? And now there is 7 years left of that mortgage. 7 years at 1.74%. Now the problem is that there's going to be a big gap between the mortgage and the value of the property. Commercial mortgages, if you break them, they're extremely expensive. You have to pay the entire interest that lender would have made. It's not like you're buying a house, like residential mortgages where you just get like a 3 months penalty. You have to pay the entire interest that seller would have paid. And so there's advantages of assuming a mortgage. Number one, they get to avoid that penalty. Number two, at 1.74 locked in for the next 7 years, that is an asset. But now the seller has to help you, and they have to give you a VTB. They need to help you with some seller financing. For those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, you guys can go through some of my videos. I have videos that I talk about seller financing, VTBs. But this is the idea that the seller assists you with financing. So let's say you have a $6 million first mortgage, and you're buying the property for $10 million. Let's say the seller will give you maybe $1 million on a VTB to help you bridge the gap, right? Now here's the kicker. You still have to meet the DCR, okay? We don't have time to get into that today, but it's the debt coverage ratio, which means that ultimately what it means is that any debt on the property itself needs to be able to service all of the debt and still be positive, have positive cash flow, okay? And so it's a formula, and we'll talk about that in later trainings. But ultimately, if they give you a second mortgage and the interest rate was like, let's say 10%, it would not meet the DCR, and so you would not be able to qualify for that vendor take back. And so what you're seeing now is the second being at a really reasonable rate. There's a deal that I was negotiating today with $7 million at 1.74, and then a $2 million seller financing at 3%. How's that possible? Well, no choice. If the seller really wants to dispose of that deal, they're going to have to work with you, and that's the key, is that we are now going into a different market where people are now flexible again, and there's lots of different strategies. Now, here are the mistakes that let's talk about what to do now. Now your existence really needs to be positioned into hunting. Discovery calls with sellers, understanding days on market, what kind of mortgages, what kind of debt they have on the market, and why are they selling? Why are they selling? Walkthroughs. Sometimes there's a property listed on the market. If you don't walk through that property, you're not going to see things that you can't see in pictures. When you walk a property, you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a piece of land here, there's an opportunity here. Oh, I can make an extra unit over here. Oh, the tenants are ready to leave. There's all of these things. You now have context, okay? And so what happens is, you go and walk that property, and maybe that property is just overpriced, and they're not ready to do the price adjustment. But you now have context. When you see that price reduced, like just this morning, I got a whole bunch of emails of a whole bunch of properties, price reduced, price reduction, price reduction, price reduction. Hey, you've been to the property, you already have context on that property, you can act faster than someone that hasn't seen that property. And so that those walkthroughs are important. That will create deal flow. It will help you understand the seller a little bit. And it does help you with building your network and attracting investors to your business. Management. You need a really good acquisition management system. Okay, I use a spreadsheet. Okay, an Excel spreadsheet where I have all the properties that I'm currently looking at, my discovery calls, what's my cost per unit, what are the opportunities, why are they selling. You need to know all of this, because you don't know that, and a lot of the best deals that I've done in my career have been deals that I've been looking at for over a year. So you really need a good acquisition management system. It can be, you guys can get fancy with it. For me, it's simple Excel spreadsheet where I have property name, owner, or I talk to the agent. I went to visit it back in July of 2022. This is what I saw. The cat was looking at me, dog in the backyard, shed in the back. It could be an opportunity for laundry. There's an opportunity for making storage. Like you need to have all that intel. So now you are building all these deals that you are currently looking at. And then when you see the price reduction, or you see that the deal hits 120 days, you can go back in there and renegotiate. Now, mistakes investors are currently making as we shift into a buyer's market, right? So what happens is, as we shift seasons, as we go from the last season into the new season, what tends to happen is we tend to carry some of those bad habits from the last season, thinking that they're going to help us and serve us going into the new season. Just like a winter coat in summer, it's not going to do you any good. Okay? So, what I'm watching in the market is people still are under this illusion that, you know, you need to remove your conditions quickly. Like, you know, you gotta, you know, you can put in offers with no conditions and all the things that we were doing 6 months ago. I would say, hey, slow it down, right? And I don't want people to get hurt and remove their conditions when they're not ready. And I understand realtors have to, you know, they're doing their job. Their job is to sell that property. Their job is to tie you to that property. But once you remove your conditions, you have lost all your power. You have all the power up into that up into the point where you still have your conditions. Too many promissory notes on particular deals at really high interest with zero plan on how you're going to pay that back, right? Now, when the market is hot and you're in a recovery and you can anticipate the next 10 months, you know that you can exit in 10 months, but you don't want to get into a position where you have bought a fallen knife. Think about a knife. Imagine the knife is falling and you try to grab it, right, on the way down. You're going to hurt yourselves. Always have multiple exits. You need a plan in order if you're gonna do private money, and also the P notes. You know, the P notes going into this next phase. I would be very careful on money that I borrow. I want to make sure that I can actually pay that money back. Social media overstepping. As we are moving into this new market, it's natural for sellers and investors to also be scared as well, because they're, you know, investors are, you know, some investors may not be watching the type of content or studying real estate just like the rest of us. And so what happens is, you know, sellers start to pull back, and then I've seen some people get desperate and start overstepping, oversharing, and you could get into a position where you can get in trouble with the Securities Commission. The Securities Commission is actually a governing body that governs all different types of investments and securities, and you can't share, you know, you can't really share returns, guarantee returns, you know, that you're really overstepping that line. Before, we could say, hey, you know, I got a deal, and you would attract someone, and then when you see that you don't get those people, you'll see that people start to overstep to try to attract more people. Avoid that. Build relationships. You have to do the work now, right? Show what you're doing. You got the walkthrough. Attract people, and then have a Zoom conversation. I know it's tough, but that conversation should not be about an investment. The first time you meet with someone should not be about how they're going to pay you. That first meeting should be about building that relationship. Once you have a list, you look at your high net worth individuals, and then you double down on those relationships. And that's what's going to help you moving forward. Assumptions that you can exit all of the tenants, or you're going to get a higher valuation. So basically, that exit is based on assuming what will happen based on a market of 6 months ago. So that right there, already people get into some trouble. Too many people involved in one particular deal, right? So you have, you know, you have too many people, right, involved in one deal. It just becomes messy. There's no reason to do that, because now you actually are entering a market where things are going to be more stable, and there's an abundance of deals. And of course, work together, but don't have, 133 people on one deal kind of thing. Underestimating the time and the cost of rentals and how long things will take, right? We're going into a market where the cost of goods and services, because we are still going through inflation, cost of goods, cost of materials, everything is going up. And so you need to be aware of that and built into your, a cost overrun. People are doing 10%, do 25, 30% contingencies in case you need it, right? You don't want to assume that everything is going to work out hunky-dory. No exits. You need to build up multiple different exits. I see this all the time. People, the only exit they have is the refi. Well, what if the refi doesn't come in? What are you going to do? Can you sell it? Are you going to be able to reposition it? Like, what are your exits? You can't enter a situation without having a proper exit. And I know that your investors are going to want to know that as well. I want to end the YouTube broadcasting. I'm going to jump out here on the PowerPoint, but I'm sure that people got a lot of value. If you guys want to go back and rewatch this, it's on my YouTube channel. But I'll say bye to my friends over here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment down below, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified the next time we're doing a video. And guess what? Like, share, dislike, I don't care! Let me see how that looks.